Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to race number 2 of Season 2 of the NNSCRA Duracell Cup Series, coming off the heels of an exciting Daytona 500 weekend, and we are now getting set to begin the road towards All-Star Race Break. Now, already Cole Baker, with a victory in the Great American Race last week, has put himself in prime position to be in one of this season's 16 playoff spots. Question is, who will join him? And it's going to be very interesting here today as well, because this was the start last season of when the Fords really were dominant. We ended up having Jose Mills, our defending winner, go to victory lane. That was his first of 4 victories. Of course, we saw Jordan Lopez with a great program at the Speedways. Jesse Turner as well. A lot of drivers that had the blue oval on the front of their race cars were actually really good at these type of tracks with the 2019 rules package. So with that being said, certainly no surprise to see a couple of Mustangs on the front row for this one. Jesse Turner lines up on the pole position alongside of Keith Batson. Both drivers, they could have done better in the 500 last week. Jesse Turner comes into this race 29th in points, Keith Batson 26th in the standings. So obviously both of them looking for a much better result here this week. And of course as well, this is going to be a very interesting type track. It's 2 miles in length, so it's like a Michigan, like an auto club, but we're going to see these drivers, it's almost like super speedway racing at a speedway. We're going to see them 3 wide, several rows deep, and it's going to come down really to who's got the most partners lined up in whichever line as to which line's going to move. So we're going to see a lot of side-by-side racing. The big thing these drivers are going to have to maybe worry about if we go into a long green flag run, getting onto pit road. For now, let's go down trackside and get the command.
Drivers, start your engines.
So as the command is given, you will take a look on the left side of your screen, and rolling on that right side, you will see your starting lineup for today's Cracker Barrel 400. And as that takes place, we will give you a look at your top 10 coming into this race overall in the point standings. Cole Baker, obviously with the victory, he is your points leader. He holds 6 points over a tie for second between current rookie points leader Marcus Sachi, who came away with a second place run in the 500 last week, and Seth Cole. Adam Garcia certainly getting this season off to a better start than last season was. He's 4th in points. Benny Watson currently in 5th. The rest of the top 10 in points coming into this race are Mitchell Collins, Benjamin Miles, defending champion Chris Dollarton, Trey Wright, and Matthew Rodriguez. We've got 5 onboard cameras here today. Carrying the Ford onboard camera is going to be Jordan Lopez in the 38, the NVIDIA onboard camera. The Dodge onboard camera, courtesy of Ryan Brommer, the Pepsi onboard. The Chevrolet onboard, the Coke Vanilla onboard on the 03 of Charles Sanford, who rolls off from 3rd. The Toyota onboard on James Qualls, who finished dead last in the 500 last week. The Castrol GTX onboard camera. And the defending winner of this race, Jose Mills. He will be carrying our helmet cam here today. So 2 miles in length, 50 laps of racing, so we're running just a little under the distance of what we ran in the 500 last week. I'd have to work the calculators. I think we're running about, 12 and a half miles less? I don't know. I don't think I worked that calculator very right. But anyway, we're ready to go. Green flag racing here at Manasas. Fords lead us down. Green flags in the air, let's roll! Charles Sanford is a mathematician expert, and I know that with me doing the calculations in my head and probably arriving at the wrong solution, he's probably pulling his hair out right now. Double wide down the back straightaway. Let's see how anxious they're going to be to go 3 wide. I know that they can do it and they can hold it all the way through this field, and there you go. There's your answer. Sanford went to the bottom. Matt McIntyre is going to go even lower, and he's going to go to the race lead and try and lead this first lap. You got to think that knowing the dominance of the Fords, as Kyle Matthews actually going to lead the first lap, but you got to think that with the dominance of the Fords at the 1.5 and 2 mile racetracks last season, that the Chevrolets, the Toyotas, and the Dodges, they're all definitely going to try and work against the Fords this race, and we'll see if they can maybe knock Ford off their pedestal, because there's no doubt about it that the Ford drivers and those that drove Mustangs last season definitely were able to adapt a lot quicker to the 2019 rules package than everybody else. Look at this. We're going to have about 8 different leaders in the first 2 laps of this race. Matthews led the first lap, Gardner leads the second lap, and here comes P1, P2 in the 500 last week. Down the inside line, Marcasacci, who finished second, Cole Baker, who won there in the middle. And Ryan Brommer now down there on the bottom in the 9. Brommer, last week, finished in, if I can find his name, 32nd in the 500. Although, when we were here last year, Ryan Brommer came in with a top 10 finish in 9th. And now Jack Mitchell, Carter, Friesen, a couple of Chevrolets will drag race to the line, and Friesen will take the bonus point for leading that lap. Carter Friesen, of course, coming off the frustrations of maybe having a shot of being a back-to-back Daytona 500 winner, but he got held up by slow traffic in the close of the Great American Race and dropped all the way back to finish in the, I believe it was 16th position. Ryan Butcher now to the lead, no longer. Derek Hamill takes a turn out in front. Now Benny Watson to the top position. And you can see how they're 3 wide, but they're giving each other an awful lot of room. So that says to me that we would definitely have a good chance of settling this into a long green flag run. And I'm pretty certain they can't make this entire race on just one pit stop. I think they'll have to pit at least twice if we do manage to run green from green flag to checkered flag. Benny Watson now kind of in control of the race lead as Zach Rogers right behind him, and he's, just barely going to get to that left rear quarter panel. You saw Sebastian Kugelon check up. I think he thought there was going to be a wreck right there. And now Carson Gum with a big run on the bottom. Chevy, Dodge, Toyota at the front. And here comes the Boxy-mobile. That's Jessica Shelton, who finished 8th here last year. She's now going to go for second and now try and take the race lead away from Carson Gum. Zach Rogers, who is up here towards the front, he finished 6th here 1 year ago. And you see Jordan Lopez down there on the bottom, the 38. His teammate won here a year ago, and Lopez finished 7th in this race. There's James Qualls in the 54. He was one of 2 drivers who DNF'd in the Daytona 500, the other one being Michael Norman. He leads that lap as he's trying to get himself out of dead last in the point standings. Now gives up the race lead to the defending champion Chris Dollerton. Qualls finished 18th in this race last year. And now Ryan Acosta with a big run. Leading Cody Lamas, couple of Camrys down on the bottom. Alexander Rowe there in the 24. We've seen a couple of rookies up here towards the front early on. Derek Hamill and Marcus Sacchi. Now Rowe up towards the front. Alexander Rowe finishing 17th last week in the 500 as they're 4 wide for the second position. Seth Cole way down on the bottom, forcing that issue. And I'm going to keep an eye on this because it's the first time this race that we've seen them go 4 wide. Looks like they did a pretty doggone good job of settling it out by the time they got out of the exit of turn 2. As Seth Cole, who finished 3rd in the 500 last week, now goes to the race lead. Here comes Wyatt Quayle in the 41. Finished damaging off the pace in last week's race in 36th. And Seth Cole's teammate, Vince Almriego, right there as well in the 42. Almriego finished 19th last year in this event. Here comes the pole sitter for the 500 and the winner from the 500, Cole Baker and Matt Haas. They are now 3rd and 4th on that inside line, trying to work their way back up to the front as Mitchell Collins on the back bumper of Wyatt Quayle. Not going to be able to make the move on him for the race lead, though, because Cole Baker is going to get the inside of him for 2nd place. Blue Oval Automotive had the win here last year, courtesy of Jose Mills. We're yet to see the 98 up towards the front. We've seen the 38 of Jordan Lopez up here, and now Trey Wright in the 28 is up inside of the top 5. Got to wonder how long it's going to be before we see the defending winner of this event up towards the front. There he is. He's 4th on that inside line there, that Louisiana Hot Sauce Ford Mustang. As Matt Haas, Trey Wright going to battle it out down the back straightaway here. And the pole sitter, Jesse Turner, has managed to work his way back up here towards the front. So definitely this track playing very much like a super speedway where drivers starting at the front fade to the back. It brings a second wave up to the front, then they fade to the back. Third wave comes up to the front, they fade to the back. And then the drivers that started up front work their way back up to the front. So it's going to be very much so, like I suspected, like a super speedway race just at a 2-mile speedway. As now Keith Batts is going to try and go for the race lead on Charles Sanford. Austin LaPlante Finished third here a year ago. Now he's up here inside of the top 3 once again. His teammate, Benjamin Miles, in the 33 right there as well. And the rookie Marcus Sacchi continuing to press here in his first 2 races of the season. A second in the 500 and very much up here in the conversation, at least early on, at Manasas. And he's going to go out to the race lead, at least for the moment. It's Chevy's 1, 2, 3 with Sacchi, Miles, and Kyle Matthews. And now Benjamin Miles wants the race lead. Now, I said that more than likely these drivers are going to have to come to pit road twice here under green flag conditions if we don't have a caution. We will definitely get a confirmed answer on whether my suspicions are correct or not if these drivers have to pit anywhere before lap 25. If they pit on lap 25 or thereafter, then that means that that's the halfway point and they will be good to go the rest of the way on fuel. But if they come to pit road before lap 25, I can guarantee you they will be having to come to pit road again before the close of this race. And one thing that I'm going to be very interested to see is if they can all make it onto pit road without wrecking. Pit road could be the chief cause of our first caution of the day when those green flag pit stops have to take place. Adam Garcia, 4th place last week in the 500, now loses the lead to Chris Dollerton. And here comes Michael Norman. We talked about James Qualls finishing dead last in the 500 last week. Whoa, contact between Matt McIntyre and Charles Sanford. And they're gonna settle that out. Ooh, that was close right there in the middle of the field. But going back to Michael Norman, he DNF'd in the Great American Race last week, finished in 39th. And so Michael Norman obviously looking to bounce back from that poor performance as well as Chris Dollerton, Benny Watson. These two battled for the championship at Homestead, Miami. And they battled for the lead right there at the line. Benny Watson won that exchange. Auto Junction Racing. Both their cars in the inside line are right now in the top 5. Ryan Butcher looking for the lead. His teammate, rookie Casey Nanico, looking for 4th place on Johnny Gardner. Carson Gum, nice run right there. Currently in the 3, the Toontown Chevrolet out of Team Chevy Autosport. And rookie Sebastian Kukulon got roughed up a little bit there out of turn 4, courtesy of the Wendy's Camaro of Carter Friesen. Friesen's going to drive it deep down there into turn 1. And he's going to get the race lead as a result, bringing Derek Hamill along with him. Still 3 wide all the way through this field. Let's check the back of the field just real quick to see if anybody's lost this group, because we've seen them 4 wide a couple of times and been able to keep it together up here at the front, but I wonder if anybody might have brushed the wall and lost this draft or not. Let's look at the very tail end. That's Austin LaPlante and Jesse Turner. You can see they are up in this lead pack. So all 40 cars are still up here in this lead group and still have a shot at this thing. I really think the determining factor is going to be pit road. And I think even more so than last week at Daytona, the draft on this 2019 rules package is going to come into play. So if we end up having drivers come out of pit road in groups, I think you're definitely going to see the draft of who's got more drivers in their respective groups come into play in terms of being able to run down others for position. James Qualls trying to get the lead from Seth Cole, couldn't do it quite there. Matthew Rodriguez finished top 10 in the 500 last week in the 10th position. Now he's got Jessica Shelton to the bottom. She's going to move to 2nd place, bringing 3-time winner from last season, William Brock, along with her. And Shelton's going to try and go for the race lead. Shelton last week in the 500 finishing in 33rd. Of course, pit road was a big issue for her. Trying to remember who the car was. There was someone that was coming to pit lane. And when they came to pit lane, they made contact with another car. That car shot up into Jessica Shelton. Shelton hit the outside wall heading into the tri-oval. And as a result, had an extended stay on pit road on the last round of green flag pit stops and lost a ton of track position and finishing positions as well. Cody Lamas now to the race lead, and down to the bottom comes Keith Batson. And here we go. Here's the pit stops, and they're taking place on lap 19, so this is about 6 laps earlier than I expected they were going to be, so this is going to be the first of 2 pit stops for these drivers. So if they are pitting now, that means that they're going to probably have to pit anywhere from 8 to 10 laps remaining. Had some drivers on pit road a lap earlier. Garcia, Turner, Mitchell, Collins. Oh, we got an issue here on pit road. I don't know what happened there, but a lot of drivers were stopped. Oh, Kyle Matthews just hit the pit wall. That might have been what slowed him up, and Dylan Young's got damage as a result. Is the caution out for this, though, is the question. I don't think so. Nope, no lights on the pace car. And it looks like these drivers make it onto pit road. Boy, I don't know who else hit that pit wall. That's why I think they were all stacked up and stopped there at the entrance of pit lane. But Kyle Matthews, we know, was definitely one of them. We'll have to wait and see on the running order who else is maybe retired out of the race to determine who that other driver was. Dylan Young with a lot of damage on his number 2 Wawa Ford Mustang. So his day may be over, and he did not have a good run last week in the 500 either, finished 37th. We're watching Adam Garcia here. We should actually watch the 22 of Mitchell Collins, because I think he was the first one to hit pit road. This time by, he cycles into the 11th position. Shelton is ahead of him. Ooh, contact there between Charles Sanford and Ryan Butcher coming off pit lane. Don't know if that's going to penalize the 78 or not, who didn't stay to the bottom of the racetrack, but then again, he didn't really have a whole heck of a lot of choice either. And this right here could be your battle for the race lead between Trey Wright and Keith Batson. But again, these drivers are all going to have to pit at least one more time. Let's take a look, courtesy of the NSCRA split cam, of who was the other driver that hit the pit wall. As I'm looking at the running order, Kyle Matthews is out of the race, and Marcus Saachi is also out of the race. So I'm assuming he was the first one to hit the pit wall. So Saachi, who finished second in the 500 last week, he's going to DNF in this one in 39th. And Kyle Matthews, he finished 18th in the 500 last week. He's going to finish in 40th. Dylan Young has returned to the track. He is one lap down, and Ryan Brommer is just barely on the tail end of the lead lap. I don't know if maybe he made some contact with Saachi or not when Saachi hit the pit wall, but he's quite a ways back here, and he's hoping and praying for a caution so he doesn't fall a lap down. I'm really surprised that didn't bring out the caution too, because sometimes even on pit road, incidents will bring out the yellow flag, and there were a whole bunch of drivers that were stopped at the entrance of pit road, and usually that definitely will bring out a yellow flag. Well, Keith Batson and Trey Wright have been trading the lead back and forth. That's going to bring third on back right to their back door. Mitchell Collins, James Qualls, Jessica Shelton, William Brock, Ryan Acosta, Cody Lamas, Jordan Lopez, Benjamin Miles, all up in this group. Actually, no, Lopez and Qualls are not in this group. They're actually in this group with Jesse Turner, Seth Cole, and Adam Garcia. But they're not that far back, and they might very easily be able to get up here as well. That is back to the 13th position that we might have up in this lead pack. Then you got this group with Benny Watson, Charles Sanford, Alexander Rowe, Carson Gum, Ryan Butcher, and Matthew Rodriguez. They're hoping they can catch up. That's back to about the 19th position. Then you got another group here from 20th back to 23rd with Kukulon, his teammate Vince Almriego, Wyatt Quayle, and Matt Haas. And then this group here with Derek Hamill, defending winner Jose Mills back here in this group, along with Austin LaPlante, Michael Norman, Casey Nanico, and Matt McIntyre. That is back through, I believe, the 29th position, I think. Yep. Right now, 30th, Levi McIntyre. 31st, Johnny Gardner. 32nd, Zach Rogers. 33rd, Jack Mitchell. 34th, Chris Dollerton. I think these guys were guys that got held up when both Kyle Matthews and Ryan Brommer hit the pit wall. So that's why they're as far back as they are. 35th right now, Carter Freeze. And the Daytona 500 winner last week, Cole Baker, all the way back in 36th. Dylan Young is a lap down in 38th. 37th is Ryan Brommer, last car in the lead lap, and 2 cars out of the race up to this point, just past the halfway point. 39th position, Marcus Saachi, the rookie, and Kyle Matthews will finish the day out in 40th. 3 wide at the line. Who got it? I think it was Collins, and it was. I don't know why I thought it was Marcus Saachi in the 22. And the top 3 at the line that time by finished 2/100ths of a second from each other. Imagine if that had been the finish. Talked about the Ford dominance with the 2019 rules package last season. Well, up here in this lead pack, you've got 2 Toyotas, you've got 3 Chevrolets, and you've got 3 Fords. So the odds are not exactly in the favor of the Blue Ovals at this point in time, as Toyota driver Ryan Acosta will go to the race lead. Benjamin Miles moves into second as they had some issue getting around the off-the-pace Ford Mustang of Dylan Young, who looks like he's going to finish his second straight race outside of the top 30 in the running order. And I think the driver we're going to have to keep an eye on in this group right here is going to be... Actually, no, I don't think anybody from this... Oh, yeah, there is. Okay, I didn't know if Adam Garcia was up in this lead group or not, but he is. He, I think, is the one that's going to be the driver to watch as far as when he hits pit road again, because he was a part of that group that were the first ones to come to pit lane on the first cycle of pit stops. Joe Collins. His win last year was with the 2019 rules package, but it was a 1.5 mile track at Kansas. Trying to win here at the 2-mile Manasas Speedway, as now Seth Cole looks for the top spot. Saw Ryan Brommer fall a lap down. Now Cole Baker and Carter Friesen look like they will have the same issue. And so now it's going to be a battle between Carter Friesen, Cole Baker, and Ryan Brommer for what I believe would be the 35th position. That's the highest that they're going to be able to finish, at least right now, unless this group's able to bring in more traffic, which at the line now is Dollerton, Rogers, and Mitchell, as the leaders were just now going through turn 3. So it's going to be a while before they catch those 3 drivers. Jordan Lopez. Where in the world did he come from? He's now going to go back up to the lead, and here comes the pole sitter, Jesse Turner. So remember when I said Fords? The odds weren't really in their favor? Well, now they've got 4 Fords up inside of the top 5. With Lopez, Turner, Garcia, and Trey Wright. And the Fords are, for the moment, working together. Ooh, Jesse Turner, I think, wanted to make a move for the lead. Adam Garcia says, I want second place, and he might actually go for the race lead here out of turn 4 as well. You can see that the gap between those drivers on the tail end of the lead lap and the race leaders is definitely closing up. They will probably catch them before this race is over, but it's going to take them a little bit more time to reel them in, I would say. How about James Qualls there in the 54? Whoa, contact back there between Mitchell Collins and Ryan Acosta. That was close, but James Qualls trying to bounce back from that DNF last week in the 500. Looking pretty doggone racy right now in that Castrol GTX Toyota Camry. And Jessica Shelton, we're going to be heading to a track pretty soon that she picked up her only Duracell Cup Series win at Phoenix. There was actually some testing that went on at a new version of Phoenix that we're going to be running this season, and if my speculations are correct based off that testing session, we're going to have a very exciting Phoenix race again for the 2nd straight year. Cody Lamas now to the inside line. And he's going to go to the race lead. And now Keith Batson, who I think has maybe had the strongest car of the day. He's been able to fight his way up here to the race lead a couple of times. He's going to take the top spot. Keith's only win in the Duracell Cup Series last year came at Richmond. So definitely a far cry from the 2-mile program that we are at here today. Seth Cole, who finished 3rd in the 500 last week, trying to not only win his first Duracell Cup Series race, but take over the points lead heading into next week, which, by the way, we're going to be going to Las Vegas Motor Speedway. 2019 rules package will be on tap there. And if I'm not mistaken, I believe right there is the defending winner of that race, Jordan Lopez. Now Jesse Turner. Wow, 3 wide at the line again between Turner, Lopez, and Miles, and they say Turner got it. That time it was 1/100th separating the top 3 at the start-finish line. Now, if my calculations are correct, if they went as far as they could go on fuel, we're going to see these drivers back on pit road within the next 5 to 6 laps. And that 12 car of Adam Garcia as well as the 47 of Jesse Turner, I think are going to be the drivers that will be the ones to start that second and final cycle of pit stops. So it's really going to be the money stop here for these drivers. We saw that pit road was an issue for a couple of drivers and has taken them out of this race, Marcus Sachi and Kyle Matthews. So you got to be very careful getting onto pit road here, because if you hit that pit wall, it's the end of your race. And of course, especially for all these drivers up in this lead pack who have a shot for the win, that's the last thing they want to do. In this lead group, still looks like only have 13 drivers in it. This group's trying to run them down, but they haven't been able to make a whole lot of progress. So right now, I think they're going to be relying on that pit stop to get them up into the lead pack with a shot for the win. Carson Gum right now in that 14th position. We can actually look and see what the gap is next time by between 13th and 14th as Trey Wright, Jessica Shelton battle for the race lead. So we're going to watch the gap from 13th, which was Jesse Turner, back to Carson Gum. The gap was about 4.1 seconds from 13th back to 14th. Let's see what it is this time as the pit stops begin. Turner's on pit road. At the line, 4.1 becomes about 4 seconds. So they gained about a tenth that time, but that's not really going to help them to close up here. Now we saw that Jesse Turner hit pit road. He's the only one that hit pit road of the lead group. Sebastian Kukulon's on pit road as well. Here comes Jack Mitchell to pit lane. William Brock looks like he's indicating he's coming this time. Adam Garcia, Mitchell Collins, Cody Lamas, as well as Jordan Lopez is in. Benjamin Miles. Here comes Matthew Rodriguez and Carson Gum also on the pit lane. This is the final pit stop these drivers are going to have to make. This is the money stop. Battle for the race lead right now going on between a couple of Camrys, Ryan Acosta and James Qualls. Qualls indicating he's coming this time. Trey Wright, Jessica Shelton. Looks like Ryan Acosta is coming down. Keith Batson is in. Seth Cole's going to stay out. So he's going to get an extra lap on everybody else, but he's also going to be coming down pit road by himself. This is very interesting strategy by the driver of the Netflix BioShock Infinite Burial at Sea Camaro. He's also got to make sure he doesn't run out of fuel here before he gets to pit lane. Over 200 miles per hour by himself going into turn 3. And he will hit pit lane this time. At least with coming to pit road by himself, he was able to come and cut down low a little bit later than most drivers were. As we're going to try and get to this group right here with Jordan Lopez, William Brock, and Benjamin Miles, because this could be some drivers that will be battling it up for the race lead once the pit stop cycle around. They're going to get around Jessica Shelton, who was in the lead pack. So too was Keith Batson and Trey Wright. So they pick up some positions there. Ryan Brommer, who is on the tail end of the lead lap, he'll probably fall a lap down again here as Lopez, Miles, and Brock will get around him. Now we're going to have to see where the 72 of Seth Cole comes out in relation to all this. And boy, these three get held up by Ryan Brommer. That's going to help Trey Wright, Keith Batson, and Jessica Shelton reel them in. And that actually might also help Seth Cole. There's Seth Cole. Ryan Acosta in second. Qualls in third. So the top three really separated from the rest of the field. And we'll have to see if it's going to be between these three, or will fourth on back be able to reel them in. They're still getting held up behind Ryan Brommer, who is up to speed, by the way. It just, he slowed down their momentum an awful lot. So can they have enough time here in these final 9 laps to run down the top three? Battle for the lead right here going to be between Seth Cole and Ryan Acosta. James Qualls trying to catch up with this group, as the top two just put Carter Friesen a lap down again. Double check at the bottom of the list. You got Brommer a lap down. Actually, Friesen just fell 2 laps down. Cole Baker is 2 laps down along with Dylan Young. 34 cars in the lead, lap of 38 running. Still only 2 drivers out of the race. We just had a lead change. Ryan Acosta went to the top spot. James Qualls running by himself in third, and he's going to get gobbled up by Lopez, Miles, and Brock. Trey Wright and Keith Batson have caught this group. Jessica Shelton as well. So we could have about 9 drivers in the hunt for this win. Here's 10th on back in a much bigger group. I don't know if they're going to have enough time, though, here in these final 7.5 laps to get up here and battle for this win. Ryan Acosta, Seth Cole side by side for the top position. Now, not only is this hindering them in terms of being able to gap that group back there, but it's also hindering them in terms of they're giving an awful lot of time for that group behind them to reel them in. If they would wait until about maybe 2 laps to go to start battling, then I think that maybe they could keep their gap of about 3 seconds and not have it cut down nearly as much and then have it not be a mano-a-mano for the win. They just passed Chris Dollerton, so Dollerton now falls a lap down. Seth Cole, we mentioned 3rd in the 500 last week. Ryan Acosta, he finished in 11th. So both of them had good runs in the 500 last week and trying to build off that. And both of them are looking for their first career Duracell Cup Series victory. I can't recall Seth Cole's best finish last year. The one that springs to mind was a top 5 run he had at Watkins Glen. Ryan Acosta, his best finish I know was 2nd, and that was to Zach Rogers at Pikes Peak. And now this is going to hinder them even more as they get held up behind the slower off-the-pace machine of Dylan Young. And don't look now, here comes the field. With 5 laps remaining, Seth Cole and Ryan Acosta are going to be sitting ducks. Let's see if that other group has closed in on this pack. Here they are flying in as they get around Carter Friesen. Friesen's got some damage. I don't know if that came from the incident on pit road back on the first cycle of pit stops or not, but I can visibly see some damage on the hood of that 37. I don't think he had that damage before, so I don't know where it came from. Samper exiting turn 4. This group is just now hitting the start-finish line. I think these guys are going to get caught. We could have as many as 20 cars in the hunt for this win in the closing stages of this race. As there you see Seth Cole, Ryan Acosta just up ahead of this battle for 3rd between Keith Batson and Trey Wright, which very quickly could turn into a battle for the race lead. Field got broken up here as they were trying to get around Dylan Young. And that might bring this group up to them. We'll see. This field gets broken up. Seth Cole going to go to the race lead. Not for long. Here comes Keith Batson to the inside. Batson just a few moments ago was 3rd, and now he's the race leader with 3 laps to go here at Manasas. These drivers are good to go on fuel. We got traffic up ahead they might have to deal with. Johnny Garner, Jack Mitchell, Zach Rogers, Levi McIntyre all on the lead lap, tail end of the lead lap. They're about a half a straightaway ahead of this lead group. Don't know if they'll play a factor or not. Here comes Benjamin Miles to the bottom for the race lead. Miles was the only driver at a Northeast Motorsports last season to not pick up a victory. This is his final season, his retirement season. He'd love to be able to pick up an early victory here and to be back-to-back wins for Chevrolet if he did. But James Qualls has something to say about it. He said, hey, I finished last week. I want to finish first this week. 4 wide back there. That is for the 4th position. Chris Dollerton and Ryan Brommer, they are lap-down machines. But they could certainly play a factor into the outcome of this race as to who's going to win, as there might be a battle for the lead here momentarily between Qualls and William Brock. William Brock on the bottom, and he is going to go to the race lead. He got a little bit of help there from Dollerton and Ryan Brommer. White flag in the air, 1 lap to go. We've got about 9 cars in this lead pack with a shot for the win. Can William Brock hold him off? Here comes Trey Wright. Boa got a win last year with Jose Mills at this track. Trey Wright trying to make it back-to-back seasons. Ryan Acosta right there as well in the 10. Seth Cole there in the 72. Trey Wright's going to go to the race lead, but will he hold it off turn 4 is the question. Ryan Acosta's going to get a good run on him. Will he peek to the inside to make a move? Here he comes. Seth Cole also on the bottom with a big run. He's got help from Jordan Lopez, but Trey Wright by a car length's going to win the Cracker Barrel 400 here today at Manasas Speedway. It's his 2nd career victory, his first at a dirt track last season at Lakewood. And Trey Wright, who had struggles last season despite that victory, is going to get an early win here this season, and Ford continues its dominance at the 1.5 and 2 mile racetracks with the 2019 rules package. A great start to the season for Trey Wright. A top 10 of 9th last week in the 500. A victory here today. And that Boy Scouts of America Ford Mustang will go to victory lane for the first time this season and the second time in his Duracell Cup Series career. And Blue Oval Automotive, in the first 2 seasons of the Duracell Cup Series, have swept the victories here at Manasas. So how about that? Ryan Acosta will finish in 2nd place here today, with Seth Cole bringing it home for the 2nd straight week in a 3rd place position. Blue Oval Automotive teammate Jordan Lopez brings it home in 4th, with William Brock completing the top 5. Jessica Shelton was 5th, or make that 6th rather. Keith Batson in 7th, Benjamin Miles 8th. James Qualls, a 9th place finish, will definitely help propel him up in the standings after his dead last DNF last week in the 500, and Benny Watson will bring it home with a top 10 run in the 10th position. We had a good battle for the race lead between 9 race cars, and then we had a good battle for 10th between another 9 race cars behind them. Cody Lamas brings it home in 11th, so he's the highest finishing rookie here today. Matthew Rodriguez in 12th, Adam Garcia 13th, Mitchell Collins in 14th, Charles Sanford was 15th, 16th was Alexander Rowe, Jesse Turner 17th, Ryan Butcher in 18th. Rest of your top 20 were Carson Gum and Derek Hamill. Jose Mills won this race 1 year ago. He finished all the way back in the 26th position. Really, after the first cycle of pit stops, he was a non-factor. And you can see we had a total of 33 cars finish this race on the lead lap. Ryan Brummer, Chris Dollerton finished a lap down apiece. Carter Fries and Cole Baker 2 laps down. Dylan Young 3 laps down. And out of the race, not due to any incident on the racetrack, but actually due to coming to pit road and hitting the pit wall. Out of the race, Marcus Sachi, who came into this race the rookie points leader, and Kyle Matthews. They will finish in 39th and 40th. Next week, we pack it up and we head to a 1.5-mile track, Las Vegas Motor Speedway, with the 2019 rules package. Jordan Lopez, who finished 4th here today, the defending winner of that race. Going to be a wild one. You're not going to want to miss it. But so far here this season, 2 races, 2 different winners, 2 different manufacturers, as well as Trey Wright takes the checkered flag in today's Cracker Barrel 400 at Manasas Speedway. Hope you guys enjoyed today's race. If you did, be sure to give us a like, subscribe, and become part of the crew today. We've shown you full video results, and these are your point standings heading to next week's race at Las Vegas. Until then, I've been Seth Cole, and you've been watching a production of the NNSCRA Offline Racing at its best.